what brought you here was not only books, but also horses.
That is true, a little bit.
It's been in the news, so I feel free to talk about it now. You are here for an equine event in Friesland, in Leeuwarden.
Yes.
And that's where Blythe has already
My wife Blythe is up in Leeuwarden, excited to see the stallion show.
And you have stallions yourselves. You're actually breeding.
That may be a bit of an overstatement, but we do have some horses. One of them is pregnant, and we have.
And when are you expecting?
We're due in April. So it's kind of funny because somebody asked me, "What do you think you might name this foal?" And well, we have a horse named Dante. So I figured we have to name the foal Beatrice, and immediately there was enthusiasm because of Princess Beatrice. So it was kind of funny.
And you have actually started riding yourself as well.
Yeah, this is, again, we're overstating it. I do ride horses. I occasionally stay above the horse, which is good. But I just, the Frisians are so beautiful. And as I said today, I've only been introduced to horses in the last 2 years. The Frisian breed is so smart, so friendly, and for some reason I feel like when you look in these horses' eyes, there's the wisdom of the ages staring back at you. So thank you to the people of the Netherlands for saving this breed, which was on the brink of extinction. You've done a wonderful thing, so thank you.
You talked about the wonderful anecdotes about the filming of Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code. Inferno is also being filmed.
It is, yeah. Inferno will become a movie. It's coming out in December of 2015, I believe. It will be Ron Howard and Tom Hanks. That has been announced. And
never change a winning team.
Well, you know what? These gentlemen are highly talented, highly motivated, and I'm so blessed to have my first experience in Hollywood be with people of that caliber. I feel very, very fortunate that they're making these movies.
As you told me when we talked about this earlier today, these books are very difficult to film.
They are.
As you said, they're different animals, books and films, and Inferno is also a very complex story with lots of characters and changes of plot. Can they do it?
Oh, I hope so. I guess we'll find out. The book-to-movie adaptation process is very difficult because about 90% of the book has to fall away, or else your movie would be 20 hours long. And so we bring in a screenwriter who can who can cut whatever he or she wants to cut without worrying. If I'm trying to cut things, they're all my babies. I don't want to cut. I'd much rather have a 20-hour movie. But that's me. So it's an interesting process to witness and to be part of.
Are you involved? Do you have a say? Do you have a veto?
I think, let me put it this way. I would never tell Ron Howard and Tom Hanks how to make a movie. But at the same time, I am involved. I read the scripts. I have input. But again, these guys are the professionals.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I had a question that goes back to something that my English teacher in high school told me. And I remember reading Paradise Lost by Milton in high school.
He was probably lost as he was writing it.
Right from the start, actually.
Right from the start.
And I remember having interesting conversations with my teacher about what a hero is in literature. And I wanted to ask you, I remember you said I think it was a BBC interview, you said you adore anti-heroes who do the right thing for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
And, of course, one of these, the prototypical anti-hero of this type is Zobrist in Inferno. And that got me to thinking about Langdon. Langdon, of course, is a master at solving conundrums, but does he ever wrestle with moral dilemmas like an anti-hero does? Is Langdon a hero?
Well, I love that you're asking the question. It means I've done my job. The character Zobrist, for example, we talk about someone who does the wrong thing for the right reason. If you've read Inferno, you know that Zobrist's solution to the problem he's faced with is pretty dramatic. And yet one can argue that the problem is so dire that we need to do something about it. As for Langdon, for example, at the end of Angels and Demons, he wrestles with whether or not to tell the truth or whether to leave what has happened a secret. And readers It's funny, in Hollywood they talk about something called the parking lot syndrome. And that is, after a movie, if you look out and there are people standing in the parking lot talking before they get in their cars, you know it's a good movie. They're trying to figure out, well, should he have done this or this? And so you hope to have something of a parking lot syndrome with a novel, that you close it and it resonates as long as possible, that you're asking yourself what the hero should or shouldn't have done.
Mm-hmm. So is he a hero?
Absolutely. And occasionally a villain.
Your books have brought about a tremendous resurgence in interest in Dante, Bernini, Da Vinci. And so I wanted to ask you, is this because they give us an excuse to enjoy the guilty pleasure of a thriller with an overlay of erudition? Or do you think that readers find something in your books which perhaps now they don't find in the church?
Oh, that's interesting. I would hate to presume that these books are any substitute for what you would find in church. At the same time, what I try to do, and I try very hard, what I do is very specific and very intentional. I try to create a world that pulls readers through it in such a way that you don't realize how much you're learning and how much you're thinking. I had an elderly woman in America came up to me one day and gave me the nicest compliment. She said, "You know, your books are like eating my vegetables, but it tastes like ice cream." And I thought, at first I thought she was insulting me, and then I thought about it and thought, actually, that's pretty nice. That's all of the greatest teachers I ever had made learning fun. And really, at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make learning fun. I think teachers are heroic. I think teaching is the most noble profession. I hope to go back to teaching someday. And there's a reason I chose a professor as my hero.
A Harvardian.
Or, what was that?
A Harvardian.
A Harvardian. I haven't heard that word. Sounds like cheese.
Well, of course, Harvard professors are a little bit different from all other professors.
A bit.
Yeah. Speaking of the church, and of course you did, and you've talked in other interviews about your own constant spiritual journey, which I thought was beautifully put. There has been quite a virulent reaction from the church to your work. Do you feel... why does the church feel so threatened?
Well, for the same reason I think that they felt threatened when astronomers started looking at the heavens. You're treading on their territory. Heaven is the church's territory. When astronomers started saying, wait a minute, the way you're describing this doesn't look like what we're seeing, you're trespassing on sacred ground. I should say that not everyone in the church was upset by these books. I still get mail about the Da Vinci Code, and a lot of it. A lot of it from nuns, believe it or not, who, in no uncertain terms, say, thank you for acknowledging that we give our lives over to Jesus Christ. Marry Jesus Christ, sacrifice our lives to Christ, and we are still not fit to stand behind the altar. Thank you for pointing that out. Not everyone dislikes the Da Vinci Code. There are a few.
Could it perhaps be that the church felt that you had laid open to public scrutiny or even called up the idea that there could be corruption and evil within the breast of the church itself?
Well, I don't think that was a shocking revelation to anyone.
Well, maybe to the church itself.
Well, I'm not the first to suggest that. And in reality, the church, like any organization, is made up of people. And people are flawed. And so the church is flawed. And I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing. And I think it's to be expected.
But not necessarily to be acknowledged.
Well, the church has the luxury of hiding behind statements like nice boys don't ask that question. And I don't think anyone, especially someone offering spiritual guidance, should be allowed to dodge any question. You need to say, you know what, we just don't know.
Yeah. Do you have any reflections for us now on the shift in direction that the Catholic Church seems to be taking with the new Pope?
I have not met the new Pope, and I have not yet...
He's a Red Sox fan.
Yeah, that's right. Let's hope so. He was happy last year. I meddled in Vatican politics once, and I'm not going to do it again tonight. It's a polite way to dodge the question.
My mother used to say, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Well, the new pope seems quite different and quite impressive. High hopes.
Getting to the nuts and bolts of writing. I also write, although I've never sold 1 million of anything. I don't know if I ever will. You do your own research, you told me. But what I wondered is, what do you do with all that arcane knowledge that you dig up for a book like this? For example, one tiny quote from Inferno, that cystic fibrosis is caused by a minuscule hiccup in a regulator gene on chromosome 7. I didn't know that. Right? I couldn't have remembered it if I hadn't written it down. But what it got me wondering is, isn't the hard disk in your brain completely overfull by now? Where do you leave all this stuff?
Yeah, well, I can't tie my own shoes, if that helps. Of course, basic functions have disappeared. I am pretty clogged up there. You know, it's funny. Research for me, and I think for many writers, is really the catalyst that drives the engine. It is the gasoline. It is a trip to Florence, standing in the baptistry, looking up and seeing the three-headed devil and realizing, wait a minute, there's a three-headed devil in Inferno, in Dante's Inferno, and finding out, wow, Dante stood right here as a little boy. He was baptized here. This is where he got it. And saying, that gives me chills, I assume it will give other people chills, and I'm going to use it. The other great thing about writing novels that take a couple years to write is you don't need to know everything at the same time. So you can continually erase parts of the hard disk as you get past them and make new space.
But you must have a huge spreadsheet on the wall in which you keep track of your characters and the plot and what the reader knows and what some of the characters know and others don't know. And it's so convoluted. I'm just, practically speaking, how do you keep track?
Well, Inferno, there was a 107-page outline for Inferno. That was just the outline. And then you settle in and you create maps, enormous maps of interconnections. I am very particular about controlling point of view. And what that means is when I'm writing in a character's mind, that character only knows what that character knows. You can't float and know what this person knows. And that allows me to withhold evidence from the reader, or withhold information, and give it to the reader at the moment that I personally think it will make the most impact. Try to withhold the right information to lead you down a path that may not be correct, and then drop the bomb over here and you get yanked back. And that's the joy of reading a thriller, that you, it's exciting. You're surprised. And if you do your job really well, the reader figures it out a line or two before it happens.
They feel it coming.
And feel smart.
Yeah. We like feeling smarter than Dan Brown. And I noticed often as you chug along in the book and you can't put it down and it's already 1:30 and you want to go to bed but you can't, you get to something you think, oh, that's right, there was a loose end. And then you pick that loose end up and you continue with it, and the weaving of this tissue, I think, is...
I despise loose ends. I think they're lazy. There's nothing I hate more than a movie when the credits start rolling and you go, what? What about? Yeah. So.
You must also have an army of fact-checkers.
We do. A big army. Yeah. Well, certainly there's...
Geography, location, art historical facts.
There is... Every single page in Inferno must have 10 things that need to be checked. Everything from a street in a city to, which chromosome cystic fibrosis is caused by. And, the first line of fact-checking is getting your information from specialists. You don't look up on the internet cystic fibrosis and hope they're right. You get to a doctor and you get to somebody who knows what's going on. So your information to start with is good. And then when you go through the publication process, we have a handful. I'm not sure what the exact number is because a lot of people work behind the scenes, but a handful of fact-checkers who really go through absolutely everything. And that involves bringing in foreign language specialists, and it's quite a process. And even then, you have things that slip through that you just say, wow, yeah, that's a mistake. And you fix it in the next edition, but everybody's working very, very hard to do the best job we can do.
To get it right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, your books have a huge impact on the cities that you write about, especially on the tourism in Venice, in Rome, in Istanbul, in Florence. There are Dan Brown tours. That made me wonder, do cities lobby you or try to bribe you to give them the Dan Brown treatment?
I have a lot of beautiful picture books from cultural ministers around the world.
Hoping.
Hoping. It's funny, a lot of people have asked me, are you going to write about the Netherlands? And
That's what I was just going to ask.
I never reveal what I'm going to write about. And I was kind of joking that, Amsterdam's pretty congested. And, you may be thrilled if I write about Amsterdam, or you may say, I can't believe that guy wrote about Amsterdam. Look at all these tourists. Not that Amsterdam needs any help, but it was, so who knows? Anything can happen. I've been here 24 hours and have seen some things that have been deeply moving and also deeply inspirational. So I'll tell you that much.
And my answer to that in Dutch would be, hoop doet leven.
Somebody going to translate that for me?
Hope keeps us alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it said, don't you dare. That's right.
Well, it's interesting. Actually, just yesterday, on Sunday on Dutch TV, the mayor of Amsterdam was talking about the mixed blessing that the popularity of the city is.
Sure.
Being a city of only 800,000, but with amenities of a metropolis.
It is a really impressive place.
Have you been on a bike?
I'm not. Let me put it this way. I would love to get on a bike. I'm not sure the insurance company would permit me to get on a bike. It looks pretty perilous. I think biking in Amsterdam may be one of those skills that you acquire from a young age. You don't just hop on one and hope it all goes well. Those trams are pretty big too.
Go back in time 10 years ago. The Da Vinci Code came out. You could not have imagined then, I think, that as a writer you would be a multimillionaire, how many writers are, and be the world's best-selling author. So where will you be, and where will Robert Langdon be in 10 years' time?
Wow, where will I be in 10 years? One thing I've learned about life is never make plans. Man plans and God laughs. That is the great quote. Life has a way of taking turns that you don't expect. I would hope that I am continuing to be creative, continuing to find mysteries that inspire me, art that inspires me, and I guess that I can continue to live the life for which I'm so grateful. I've had so much good luck. I should say my first 3 books sold a total of 6 or 7 copies. Total, and I think 6 of them went to my mother.
And the giraffe.
And the giraffe, well, 1 copy of that. So I'm very grateful for the way things have turned out, and I know that it can end at any moment. I'm pleased to be here with you tonight.
Yeah. And a lot of hard work.
Yes,
a lot of spreadsheets.
Yeah, a lot of spreadsheets.